So I'm just going to give you a brief introduction about this gentleman, W.H. Auden, or he was known as Winston Hugh Auden. He was an Anglo-American poet. The description says that he was born on 21st of February in 1907, and he was a British American poet. And Mr. Auden was famous for his choice of topics. The most important, what he was famous for, is that he had the ability to choose any particular topic. Usually, you have poets or writers who can write, who specialize in, say, for example, romantic poems. There are some poets who specialize in writing poems on on relationships or nature. You know but Mr. Auden was was an expert, and he could write on any topic. In fact, he won the Pulitzer Prize in 1948 also. That is one of the highest prizes in the field of literature. And he died on 29th of September 1973 at the age of 66 in Austria. So this is some details. I'm just running out of ink in my marker, so I'm going to write it in on upload it on the Google Classroom if you wish to know some more details about the boat. Say this city has 10 million souls. Some are living in mansions and some are living in holes. Yet there's no place for us, my dear, yet there's no place for us. When we are talking about a country, every country, every region, every village, every town has a lot of economic imbalance. You cannot say that out of the 1 lakh population of Ladakh, 50,000 people are rich and 50,000 people are moderately rich. You cannot say that. You have a very wide range of imbalance between the rich and the poor. And sometimes everyone keeps on saying, you must have heard your parents also saying that it seems that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. you know so the poet has started the lines by saying that, say this city has 10 million souls, and he's trying to say, just look at the population of the city. Maybe there are 10 million people living in this city, but not every citizen, every person who's living in this city, or in this country, is living in a mansion. Mansion is a big house, a palatial house with all the facilities and luxuries to live comfortably. So some people are lucky and they're rich and they're living in big bungalows, I should say, kothis Hindi mein bolte hain. And some are living in holes. Hole is a place where you cannot imagine a human being can manage to live. It can be a very, very difficult place to live. It can be a very unhygienic place to live. It can be in slums. It can be an unauthorized locality. And I mean, we have come to such a point that I have read articles where families are living in cupboards. If you ever get a chance to read about these kind of accommodations in Japan and Korea, you call them capsule accommodations. Um, I have heard of something called studio apartments where um, where uh, I think we can live comfortably. But now, because of the growing population and the economic, people don't have money. There are so many things to take care of. Um, so the pressure is going on more on people, and and the accommodations are getting smaller and smaller because you need to pay rent for that. So some people are living in palaces, in big houses, and some people are living in holes. There are some people who are living in slums where there's no room sort of thing. They can just live in a plastic tent. They're living on the streets, and yet there is no place for us. But at least they're living there because they belong to that country. But as a refugee, The poet has portrayed himself as a refugee, and he's trying to say that there is no place for us. Us as has been referred to all the people who are forced to leave their country and they have taken shelter in a new country, but then they are not welcome. Maybe uh, the people of that country think that uh, it is going to be difficult for them, or maybe they'll take their jobs, so many reasons. So they feel unwelcome. They feel that nobody is there to welcome, nobody is there to accept them warmly. My dear, yet there is no place for us. He said, unfortunately, there is no place. Sometimes, even though if that country has let these refugees stay in the new country legally, but still the social segregation, the social distribution between the local people and the refugees becomes so high, becomes so noticeable, that it remains forever. So this is what the poet is trying to say. Once we had a country and we thought it fair. So he's trying to remember how his country used to be when he used to. The poet is trying to say that how beautiful it was when he used to live in his own country. He said life was so good when I used to live in my own country, when I was when I was no longer a refugee, when I was not a refugee, when I was not forced to leave my country, when things were well. It says, and we thought it fair. That means life was good. Everyone was living happily. Look in the atlas, and you will find it there. Atlas is. I hope everybody knows atlas. It's the descriptive uh, guidebook, I should say, of countries and continents. And he said, why don't you look at my country in the atlas, and you'll find my country. It's a beautiful country. We used to be so happy there before we were forced to leave. We cannot go there now. And then he's coming back to the present scenario, and he's trying to say that I cannot go back to my country now. Who doesn't want to live in his or her country? My dear, we cannot go there now. Unfortunately, even though my country was so beautiful, even though my country is so nice, and I really remember and miss my country, but alas, unfortunately, I cannot go back to my country. In the village churchyard, there grows an old yew. He's trying to remember how his village looked like. He's trying to remember how the boundary, yard means the walling across the church, and how these wild, you have the description at the back of your poem on page number 72. It's a wild shrub, and every spring it blossoms anew, and every spring, March, April for us, new flowers used to come in that shrub. Naye, in Hindi you can call naye phool aate the. So anew means new flowers. Old passports can't do that, my dear. Old passports can't do that. Passport is a valid document which allows you to travel or go to some other foreign country. Um, when you are traveling or maybe going for work, you're going for vacations, you're going to study. So every time you travel out of your native country, you have to show a valid proof which says that you belong to that particular country. And then when you come back, they'll mention it that you traveled and then you came back. And then every passport has a validity period, for 5 years, for 10 years, 15 years. So he's trying to say that old passports do not have that. Old passports don't do that, my dear. You know, that means even though they are refugees, but when they are showing their identity that they belong to that particular country, which where they had to leave, where they had no choice but to leave, that country does not hold any significance, any importance. The consul banged the table and said, consul is a gentleman, is a representative who is working in a foreign country, in another country, where he's trying to work, represent his country, and he's trying to take care of all those people who have come to that new country as refugees. Say, for example, if I'm from India, and if you, let's say, there are many Indians who have gone as refugees to, this is just an example, um, what should I say, Australia, you know. So I'm working in Australia, and I'm taking care of all those people who have come to Australia as refugees from India. Because I'm an Indian, so I'm working for these people who have taken shelter in Australia, and then I'm helping with them with their jobs and with their paperwork and all that. So now when this quote is saying that when he has taken shelter into a new country, when he has entered a new country, he said, if you have got no passport, you are officially dead. You know, he said, if you have no passport to show as in where did you come from or which country did you belong to, you are dead in the papers. You have no records of whether you are dead or alive. But we are still alive, my dear, but we are still alive. And the poet is trying to say that how can you say that we are dead just because we have a passport which is not valid, just because our passport has expired and we cannot show any valid proof that we belong to that particular country, that beautiful country that we were forced to leave. That does not mean that we are dead. We are alive. How can you say that? But nowadays everything works on proof, isn't it? So now he has been refused. So he's gone to another place. Went to a committee, they offered me a chair. They were nice people and they told him to sit on a chair. Asked me politely to return next year. He said, you have to go back, but you can come back next year. That means they are not welcome there also. But where shall we go today, my dear? But where shall we go today? You're talking about next year, you're talking about tomorrow, you're talking about the next moment, but where are we going to go now, today? Maybe he has a family, maybe there are so many other people who have come. Where are they going to go? Where will they take shelter? No, this is a very, this poem has a lot of deep meaning, I should say. A very sad poem, but this is the harsh reality of refugees. Came to a public meeting. Public meeting means where this was a meeting for the common people. The speaker got up and said, if we let them in, they will steal our daily bread. You know, I was talking about this. Maybe the native people of that country, maybe the government has allowed them to enter and stay in that country as refugees. But maybe the common people think that if they are going to live in that country along with the refugees, maybe their jobs will be taken away from these refugees one fine day. You know, he was talking of you and me, my dear. He was talking of you and me. And the poet is trying to say that he's not talking about some other person. He's talking about you and me. He's referring to the refugees who were displaced and who have taken shelter into a new country. So I'm just going to stop here and finish your assignment, what I told you to these 4 questions. Upload it on Google Classroom, and then I'll see you tomorrow.